In the Old West, the law changed from county to county. In a lot of towns, brothels were treated like any other business. The sheriff and the judge wanted order, not a sermon. City Hall charged fees, required a license, and sometimes health exams. That way, the madams kept the red light district in line, and the town used the money to keep things running. During the mining era in the West, a dog wasn't just company. A lot of miners took the animal on the saddle or in the wagon, and it helped guard the camp, scare off snakes, and even sniff out a trail. It also hunted small animals and warned when a stranger showed up. On a freezing night, it became an alarm and a living blanket in a canvas shack for its owner. Tom Horn, born in 1860, showed early on that he could shoot straight and had a talent for tracking. In the 1870s, he headed west and became a versatile guy. He drove cattle, dug in mines, worked as a scout, and later as an agency detective. He got a reputation for solving problems in cattle disputes and ended up convicted for a murder that people still argue about. In the 1800s, the sound in the American living room often came from grand pianos and square models that dominated the factories. They were a status symbol in the parlor and traveled long distances by wagon. Only after 1870 did the upright piano really take off. It took up less floor space, brought the price down, and fit better with smaller homes and the railroad. Before Columbus, in many parts of North America, a blanket was more than comfort. It was trade, a gift, and a sign of ties between families. Some were stitched from rabbit fur and other small animals. Others were woven with wool, cotton, feathers, and bark fibers like shredded cedar. On cold nights, it made a real difference. On the frontier, not everything was on paper, but everyone knew what was right. If a traveler knocked on your door, you offered water, coffee, and a safe spot because tomorrow it could be you on the road. Cheating at cards could start a serious fight. Your word counted as a contract, and wearing out the land with no respect was a big offense, the kind that put a mark on your name in a small town. In 1848, near Coloma, California, the news of gold spread like wildfire. The simplest way was panning in the American River. Toss in gravel and water, gently shake it, and let the weight do the work, separating the metal from the rest. In the camps, food and tools cost a lot, and your arms ached, but every glint at the bottom kept the crew coming back. In the Old West, what ended up on your plate depended on your wallet and where you lived. On isolated farms, supper came from your own place. Salted meat, beans, corn, simple bread, strong coffee, and whatever you could hunt or grow. When winter hit hard or the harvest failed, the pantry became a test of grit, and trading with a neighbor or the local store could save you. In the Old West, the frontier opened up a rare space for women who didn't fit the East's rules. In dusty railroad towns, they ran hotels, saloons, ranches, and makeshift clinics. Some got divorces, bought land, and became well known in the community. In a hard place, that earned respect the hard way, and they kept going. From Pawnee, Oklahoma, the Dunn brothers lived a double life. They called themselves bounty hunters, but their money came from cattle rustling. On those roads, the law barely reached and rumors flew. Ranchers formed posses to protect their brands. They got a reputation when they were linked to the deaths of George Bitter Creek Newcomb and Charlie Pierce of the Wild Bunch. In March 1886, Camillus C.S. Fly followed the negotiations with Geronimo and got permission to photograph the camp. Among the children, he saw a face that didn't fit, a white boy, Jimmy Santiago McKinn, captured in 1885. After 6 months, he spoke Apache, dressed like them, and pushed back against the idea of going home. It was a shock. In 1850, in a frontier town, the livery stable was like the Old West motor pool. You could rent a horse, a team, a buggy, or a wagon, leave your saddle to be fixed up, and buy feed. A lot of them were attached to hotels, so they were also where you picked up messages, found a guide, and heard the latest news from the territory before heading out. No fuss. During the gold rush era from 1840 to 1880, the wolfers showed up, backcountry wolf hunters. With cattle herds growing, counties paid bounties per pelt, and these men followed tracks for days, setting snares and bait. They slept outdoors, hunted to eat, and when they could, they'd turn into prospectors for a while to make some extra money. In 1863, in the middle of the Civil War, the western frontier was out there. Huge land, not much structure, and danger at every stop. Besides bullets and accidents, the quiet enemy was disease, bad water, untreated wounds, smallpox, and fever. With no doctor nearby, people made do with quarantine, home remedies, and kept moving the hard way anyway. In the 19th century, around 1800, the cowboy became a key part of the push west in the U.S. The foundation came from the Mexican vaquero, but American ranch hands adapted the saddle, spurs, and day-to-day routine to drive cattle hundreds of miles on trails like the Chisholm. It was hard work, dust, danger, and a simple code: keep your word to survive. Back then on the Great Plains, a lot of native people lived in semi-underground homes made of earth, logs, and grass. The Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara built villages near the Missouri River with earthen roofs, a smoke hole, and space to store food for the winter. This way of life started in the 1500s and lasted into the reservation era, when federal pressure tightened. When people talk about the Old West, they usually think of saloons and duels, but the frontier also revolved around the doctor. These docs rode miles on horseback, handling births, broken bones, and fevers in cabins or behind the counter at the general store. They used whatever they had: needle, saw, alcohol to clean things. With no hospital nearby, they kept the community going. In the Old West, a lot of people lived without cash on hand, and that's where the pawnbroker came in. The frontier pawnbroker. In mining towns and trading posts, he loaned money by taking a watch, a gun, a saddle, or tools as collateral. He also financed expeditions and small businesses. It was fast credit with high risk and interest that hit hard. Between 1871 and 1872, a roadside stop in Kansas turned into a trap. The Bender family took in travelers like regular folks, served a meal, and offered a bed, but some never went on their way. When people going missing became routine, neighbors went to check. They found signs of killings, shallow graves, and an empty house. The bloody Benders vanished without a trace. William Preston Longley, Wild Bill. Longley grew up in Texas and got into a violent life early. By the time he was 27, he was tied to several killings and went by different names, changing his story and his look to throw off sheriffs and posses. In the end, he was arrested in Giddings, out in the countryside, and hanged in 1878, leaving a trail of fear. Before any European ever set foot here, many indigenous peoples had been growing tobacco for centuries. It wasn't just smoke. It was part of alliances, ceremonies, and healing requests. In meetings, the pipe sealed a promise. It also became a gift in visits and trades, a sign of respect between folks. From north to south, each nation had its own rules for this plant. Mining had always existed in the United States, but in the West, it turned into a frenzy. Crowds chased gold, silver, and copper, leaving family behind for a claim and a dream in their pocket. Tents turned into streets, then turned into dust. The sound of pickaxes became the music of the day. Between cave-ins, disease, and greed, what was left was a map of empty towns and stories of fortune. In 1869, the big railroad line that crossed the country was sold as a shortcut to connect the East Coast to the West Coast and keep business moving. Survey maps, stakes, and soldiers cleared the way without asking permission. For many indigenous peoples, the tracks cut through hunting grounds, water sources, and sacred places, ignoring treaties. Progress arrived as lost land and conflict. Crossing the U.S. toward the Pacific in the 1840s, 1850s was a real test. Many left Missouri in wagon trains, following routes like the Oregon Trail or the California Trail. It was about 2,000 miles, with deserts, mountains, and rivers with no bridges. A broken axle, no water, and disease could end everything. But the dream of land and work kept the group moving. In the 1860s, public school in the West was almost always makeshift. Some places had a one-room schoolhouse and a slate board. In others, class happened in a cabin or a barn. The teacher was sometimes paid with food or firewood, and the schedule followed the harvest and the cattle. Even so, a lot of families insisted on reading and arithmetic so their kids wouldn't fall behind.